Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another unboxing by the Meeple Marathon. This time we have an expansion for the Big Book of Madness. This one is titled The Fifth Element. The Big Book of Madness and the expansion are both produced by Aiello and designed by Maxime Romborg, and I'm not even going to attempt the illustrator's name, Neadi. Maybe if I butchered it, I'm sorry. But before we break into this, I'm just going to give a quick overview of the Big Book of Madness itself, because it's not something I've ever covered on the channel, and I don't think a lot of people know about this game, but I think it is a really fun, just kind of change of pace deck builder game that's got a fun theme. It's kind of Harry Potter-ish in a way, and it plays decently fast. It says 2 to 5, but if you're willing to play two-handed, it you can easily play solo, and that's what I do a lot of times, because you create combinations between yourself and the other person you're playing with. So if you're playing by yourself, you can you easily create those combos because you don't have anybody to argue with about whether it's the best course of action. So let's just take a quick look inside of the Big Book of Madness here. So there's a traditional instruction manual. I'm not going to go over everything per se. I just want everybody to get a general idea of how the game works. So here is the board, and it's not a very big board, but essentially what you are doing is you've got a book in front of you, the Book of Madness, and you are playing magical students who have opened the book accidentally. It's like Pandora's box, or whatever that Mickey cartoon is, where he opens up the book and puts on the hat and all the rooms start coming to life. That's what I always think of. But essentially, you open up the book and you're going to keep flipping the pages, and monsters will be trying to come out of the book, and they'll be putting curses down here along the bottom, and as you increase in level, additional curses will be coming out and hitting you. So that's pretty much what the player board is for. One of the only drawbacks I honestly have of the game is that the cards themselves are these teeny tiny, like mini American sized cards. I don't really know why. These are basically like wounds. I don't know why they made them small like this. Obviously there's room in the box. I don't know if it was budget reasons, but this is my biggest drawback, is that the cards you play with are these teeny tiny ones. They just don't feel as good in your hand. But you can see basically the cards are very simple. You've got an element, and then you've got a number, 1s, 2s, and eventually 3s. So fire, earth, wind, white is, I forget what white is. Maybe blue is water. I think blue is wind though. But anyways, so the cards are very simple, very straightforward. There's not a whole lot to think about here. But then you get into your individual student magician, and they all are asymmetrical in a way. They all have a different special power that they can make use of, and they have a different set of starting hand, essentially, that they're going to start with. So choosing who you're going to play with can make a big deal, and some of them synergize well with others. And you can see here on the back it does have a general overview of how your turn should go, and you don't have to put anything on here, so you could easily flip this over. There are spaces for placing cards up here, but you don't have to actually place them on the card, so if you need to flip them over. But here's just briefly, you can see they all kind of have a color going along with them. So I think there's like one for each color, boy and girl. Okay, so this then here are the cards, the monster cards that essentially make up a book. So you can see there are like 4 different cover monsters you can have, and as you flip over the book, I've got them upside down, Let's get one that's a little easier to look at. No, I did have them right, or some of them right. Okay. All right, so this is your monster, and then these are the type of curses that are going to come out. And this happens when the page is first turned, and then you'll put these 3 curses out right here. You'll also see that the very next page has your victory condition or your failure condition, and it also gives you a hint at what the curses are going to be when they come up. Now the curses are very simple in a way that you essentially just have to have 4 of the same element. So this would be a fire curse. You have to have 4 fire elements in your hand to be able to play them to defeat this curse. Otherwise, when it comes around to this, kind of moves counterclockwise, each player will have to discard 1 air card. So I'm not a huge fan of the fact that it's basically just 4 of one or 1 of each. So you can see some of these have 1 of each, and other than that, they're just boom, 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 boom. So, but these essentially make up what you're fighting. So again, it's a very simple game. You're basically just trying to maximize the amount of elemental cards in your hand and play off of good synergies with your partner in order to, throw out the correct number at a time and get ahead of these curses. Now, and essentially the curses play a lot like Power Rangers do, that you're going to be moving the round tracker around, and there's going to be, say, 3 of these out like this. So if you go ahead and if you have defeated this curse and the tracker gets to it, that curse is just dormant and nothing happens. But say you defeat this curse first and then the tracker hits this one, it'll do this one and then it'll be dormant. So you're always basically trying to stay ahead. Then the last thing you will have are these spells that each character will get a set of starting spells, and you can see they all take like a certain element that you have to play, and then you get to do something. When you do, the spell gets tapped until it comes back around to your turn. Now, some of the cool action cards like this one, Telepathy, one other player takes 1 action. So if you actually, say, left this one untouched in your hand and then your partner played Telepathy, you could then turn around and play Combustion and destroy a card from your hand. You may not want to do that, or you could discard 1, but taking an action could also be playing 4 elements from your hand to destroy a curse. So these Telepathy cards are basically giving your players that you're playing with additional actions, and all of these can be upgraded. So you can see you would pay 2 earth elementals to get this one. And what's also cool is that you could essentially flood your entire hand with nothing but white spells, or you could flood your hand with nothing but red and blue spells. You get to decide, but you don't just get to keep adding breath to your hand. You have to replace a spell. I believe that's how it works. It's been a while since I played it. If nothing else, you have to replace your white one with this one as you upgrade your spells. So you only are ever going to have 4 different spells in your hand. And that's pretty much it. I'm not even sure what this is. I don't remember. This is, this moves around to decide what spell or what curse is happening. This is like a little round tracker, and these can just cover up the spells if you are attacking them in the future and don't attack them all at once. So that's pretty much it. Like I said, it's very straightforward because it's not like you're adding these super complex cards to your hand. It's basically just elements. That's your deck. Your deck just consists of these elemental cards that are 4 colors, and that's all there is to it. So that is a Big Book of Madness in a super quick nutshell. Now, recently, and this game has been out for a while. Let me see here. I just knocked all my cards out. 2016. Okay, so it's not as old as I thought it was. I feel like I've had this on my shelf a long time. So that is Big Book of Madness. Now, 4 years later, they finally released their first expansion for it, which is kind of out of the blue. I was actually considering possibly trading that game or selling it because it just didn't really come out anymore, but this expansion really kind of renewed my interest in the Big Book of Madness. So I'm hoping that this adds a little bit more complexity to the game personally, but we'll find out. It essentially adds the fifth element, which is darkness, but I'm not really sure what to expect here, so let's find out. All right, so right off the bat we have this real skinny rule book that covers the expansion. Tells you how to set it up with the dark monsters, how many dark monsters to add in. Looks like you can create a spontaneous element. Phobias. This module adds phobia cards. It can be combined with the dark matter module or played separately. Phobia cards are madness cards with a permanent constraint. They are considered madness cards in every aspect. So that's cool. These are essentially modules that you can pull in or pull out or add in at your will. So there's just an explanation of the phobias there. This, I believe, would be madness cards. Now it'll be interesting. I wonder if this is all going to fit back in the main box. We'll have to take a look at that later. But this, I'm assuming, is going to be nothing but 1s, 2s, and 3s of the dark matter. So there's a good picture of the dark matter. And sure enough, 1s. No, nothing but 1s. That's interesting. There is no doubles or triples. Maybe dark matter is a bad thing. But here's some of the phobias. You cannot take any action using fire, using air, water. Let's see what else. You can no longer use support cards, even yours. At the beginning of your turn, the invocation marker moves 2 spaces forward. Woo! Okay. So these look like they might get added to your hand as well and get mixed in there because they have the same back. They're identical in size and shape and everything. So there's those. Here are some darkness markers. There are no other chits or tokens necessary in the base game, so we'll have to look and see what those are about. These appear to be, I know there's 2 more students, magicians, in the game to play with, so that'll be exciting. Let's see, so this person is on your turn. You may destroy 2 identical cards to add 1 superior element to your discard pile, so that's cool. At the beginning of your turn, draw as many cards as you have phobias in support. Okay. On your turn, you may activate a charm from the dark book for 1 less dark matter card. Okay, so there's 4 in here. That's cool. And on your turn, discard 1 dark matter to move 1 phobia from 1 support slot to another. So you know what? One thing I am forgetting, and that's, I remember what these shaded areas are for on the character cards. You can actually, instead of discarding a card or using it, you can place it in what's called support. And it sits here, and it's available for you to use on a future turn, but it also can be used by the other players. So similar to Marvel Legendary, especially Legendary Encounters Alien that I play a lot, there's the one card that if you have it in your hand, the other player can actually use it, and you spend it, it goes in your discard pile, they get the points, and then you get to draw another card, which is nice. But essentially, yeah, instead of, if you have a card that you know your partner is going to need, you can place it in support, and so that's what these 3 slots are for. So we've got just a bunch more monsters here. The artwork on these is really cool. You know, it's just fun to look at in general, and you can see here some dark matter curses are finally coming out. So just a whole bunch more monsters to add, which is fun. But it looks like spells and such are gonna stay the same. So there's those. Set those off to the side. And yeah, that's it. There's not a whole lot in this box, but it wasn't a super expensive expansion. So it's just nice that, you know, they hadn't forgotten about this game. It seemed like Aiello just had forgotten about it. They weren't making anything for it, and you can still get it on Amazon, I'm pretty sure. So these, I'm not sure what these are. These are like little mini books. So that's interesting. It's like a little mini book for the curses, because these are the front, the back and sides, but these are the curse cards. So again, yeah, they didn't really change that core mechanic of if it is a single curse, not a multicolored curse, then they simply just, you have to do 4 of the same curse. So oh yeah, so there were tokens. I remember now, there were tokens, so you can put these on here to cover that up, maybe? That doesn't make sense. It doesn't look like it's covered up. Anyways, that is the 5th element. So if you are familiar with Big Book of Madness, or you have it and you are considering purchasing this expansion, now you are aware of what's inside. I apologize that I'm not as fresh up on the rules. You know, this expansion kind of came as a surprise. I pre-ordered it months ago and it just appeared on my doorstep. I was like, oh, what's in this box? Oh, Big Book of Madness 5th element expansion. So there you have it. It's basically some more of everything that comes in the box, and we'll see if it adds any complexity or not. So I will try and do a playthrough of this soon and get it up on the channel so you guys can see what it's like to play the Big Book of Madness with the 5th element expansion. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. If you have any more detailed questions or something I didn't answer, please feel free to leave a question in the comments section below, and as soon as I figure out the answer, once I've read the rules and maybe played a game or two, I will be happy to answer it for you. And if you're interested in seeing how this plays out, please consider subscribing to the channel so you'll be notified when I post a video of the Big Book of Madness with the 5th element expansion. Again, thank you for watching and have a wonderful night.